analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. NBA, some college.
It is time for the Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay podcast, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. The show is brought to you by Prizepicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today and use code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. Prizepicks. Run your game. Well, Bob, I, per usual, sent you a message at halftime, I think alluding to the fact that this wasn't going to be close. And once again, I have egg all over my face. And yes, I did fall asleep as the Pacers miraculously came back from 15 down with like 9.5 to go and win the game.
That word will no longer apply to anything that they do in the remainder of the 2025 playoffs. Miraculously, and an area derivative of the word miracle will no longer apply to them. It'll simply SOP, which for you youngins stands for Standard Operating Procedure.
Right.
I'm a history major, and I love history of any kind and any topic. We are witnessing history being made by a team in these playoffs almost nightly. What they have done, I love to go with this. One of my favorite, what if thing is, if someone had told you, blah, 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 about whatever, right?
Right.
If someone had told you on the onset of the 2025 playoffs that a team would have the number of improbable comeback victories, dramatic comeback victories, and that one man would, by game one of the finals, have authored 4 massive shots to tie or win games. One man, within the last fill in the blank, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, minimal time left, and said, "Okay, you take that bet, yes or no?" You would say, "No way, come on, not way, no." I mean, that just doesn't happen. They keep doing it. That's why I didn't give up on them. As I told one of my texting friends, I didn't think they were out of it, even though it wasn't going that well. One reason, OKC wasn't. One thing that I didn't realize fully until this morning was in the midst of all the turnovers that they had, 19 in the first half, OKC wasn't parlaying that into as many points as they should have.
Right.
So the one benefit, one detriment, outcome of turnover was fewer shots at halftime. And it held up because the second half was a different game. They wound up with 18 more shots taken, the Thunder, and they had 18 more shots taken in the first half. That's a lot. Okay, they weren't getting the full benefit in their end of the turnovers. What they were doing is preventing Indiana from scoring. Or Indiana was preventing itself from scoring. But part B of turnovers is, do we take full advantage of it? And OKC did not take full advantage of their opportunity with the turnovers. Okay, so we learned that. But the Pacers thing is improbable. I think is a safe word. And there's yet another stat. It's a stat I just saw within the hour in the history of finals of deficits, 9-point deficits. Pick a number. It was 182-0 or whatever. Now it's 182-1. Of course. And you know what I always say, Garrett, about anything. And these streaks, people rely on streaks and odds and crap. Hey, play the game. Everything is true until it's not true. That's my philosophy about streaks. Okay, so there you go.
When we spoke at the beginning of the season, we felt the Celtics, OKC, Denver, and Cleveland. Cleveland after the season started. Once the season got going,
right?
We could be 0 for 4.
Oh yeah. Well, I said, absolutely. And I said before the playoffs started, we have 360 win teams.
Right.
And anyone other than one of them wins, it'll be I won't say shock. It'll be a big story. It'll be an upset. I'll be very surprised to the point of shocking. And
what does it say about the state of the league right now when we see that? I think it's a good thing.
Yeah,
I think it's a good thing.
Lots being written about this. A lot every day. There's another story about the parity thing and how this is the result. This will be the eighth separate consecutive non-repeat. 8 different teams are going to win in 8 years. As opposed, there's a good story today to the David Stern era. In the 80s, 4 teams won in the 80s.
Right.
By the way, okay, 4 teams, and Adam Silver was once quoted as saying that in the Stern era, they used to kid. David Stern said, "My job is to fly back and forth between LA and Boston and give out a trophy."
Right.
Okay. Well, those days are long gone. Why is this happening? According to the people that love to deal in the numbers, and they always overwhelm me. But this is a deliberate result of the fiscal policy of the NBA that penalizes teams from spending too much, keeps teams from keeping their players, for a long period of time, and that therefore we have better odds every year of a new team rising up, depending on it. We know what the Celtics are facing. We've lived this. It was hanging over them all year. I didn't worry about it. I said, people, enjoy the moment. You got a good team. You got a championship team. You might get another one. Enjoy the moment. You don't know what's going to happen. I'm not worried about the fiscal problem of 25-26 or 29-30. No, but it's there. But I don't worry about that. But this is a result of the fiscal policy of the league. Now, the second thing is, I'd always said, but it's not, and I usually applied this to baseball in the old days with the Yankees and others. Money's one thing. You got to accompany it with some semblance of good judgment. You just don't overwhelm. You just don't win championships by spending the money for the best players. You got to find the right best players. There are wrong statistically laden players that don't contribute to winning the way they should in all sports. And you got to find the right guys. And it appears that both of these teams have found the right guys. Only one can win. If it goes 7, we may come away from this thing saying, "Damn it, I wish it went 11," or "Damn it, I wish it went 101." Whatever, because it was good basketball, and there were teams that we couldn't. You had to appreciate the way they played the game, and so that's the way I feel about this final. So I'm enjoying. I think there's been terrific playoffs from the first round games. I thought we had a large number of entertaining games for neutrals, and I was entertained before the Celtics played a game, and then of course that series with the Knicks was crazy. It was crazy. If you're a neutral, you're going, whoa, and 2 times coming back from 20, coming back again from 14, et cetera, et cetera. That makes for good stuff. And I'll say this with regard to. I'll get off the soapbox in one more second. I'm not knocking hockey. I'm looking forward to watching Edmonton and Panthers in game 2. Okay. I'm enjoying it. I'm rooting for the Oilers for various reasons, but hockey smug people say nothing greater than the hockey playoffs. Hockey playoffs are wonderful. And I do say there's no greater sheer tension in sport that I know of than Stanley Cup OT. Okay. OT, but hockey doesn't have what basketball has in comebacks. You don't get that time after time, that relentless comeback thing. You can't score. You don't get 16-2 runs. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah,
and that's a different sensation for a fan. Is a 16-2 run than any hockey comeback you can name. It just is different. It's a different button pushed. So basketball owns that excitement, that buzz for a fan. Even baseball. By the way, we have a team come from 7 runs back in the 9th inning as we speak yesterday. Okay, great. And I've been witness to great comebacks, but nothing in sport is the same. I'm not saying better or worse, is the same as a basketball run for the home team, the fans, the exhilaration, the fun. Okay, well, anyway, or for any team, if you're sitting watching it, at home, it's great.
Right.
All right.
Well said, Bob. You can get up. You could stay on the soapbox, my friend. That's why we have this podcast. The other point I'd like to make when it comes to the parity is the European invasion.
Oh, first of all, we got an all-Canadian backcourt.
I mean international invasion.
Oh yeah, right, international, because we've got an all-Canadian backcourt for the OKC guys.
Right, exactly.
3 starters are from outside the United States because Hartenstein's a German. Okay. People don't realize, they may think he comes from Miami or something. He's a German. Okay. Yeah. And I'm waiting for Canada to finally get a medal. The only medal they've ever gotten was in 1936, the first Olympics. Basketball. Did you know that? They should be getting ready to get a medal one of these years. Anyway, right. My theory. I'll never stop saying it. This is the Boris Stankovic result. This is the dream team. This is the dragging the Americans into international competition in a way they had not been before, with the very best players, to raise the bar for the world, to show the world where you have to be to get to the pinnacle of basketball. This is what Boris Stankovic, who was the head of FIBA, wanted, and we're up in that big sports bar in the sky. I'm sure he's loving every second of the fact that we've got I've lost track. How many successive MVPs are not American? 5 right. Now, is it 6? With people say SGA is a Canadian, folks. Okay, yeah, he went to college here, but he's a Canadian. And Lugans Dort is Montreal, Canada. Yeah, okay, that's where he's from. So people say, I think it's wonderful, and they brought energy. They brought a lot to the game. And that the latest thing is, oh boy, we're going to be talking about this when the time comes, and we're going to be talking about this in the ensuing weeks. They finally are getting to where they're seriously discussing an all-star game format of U.S. against the world.
Right.
And I've been advocating that as the only solution, for years now. And now that this, I won't say despicable, but this disappointing group of American stars have decided they're not interested in the all-star game. They don't have the personal pride. They want to showcase their skills against their peers and have a bragging rights thing in an all-star game. They're not interested in this. They've made a mockery of the all-star game.
Right.
I deplore this. It's terrible. Anyway, the one, but about it having USA against the world, which I don't know how they're going to address. It reduces the number of spots available to the Americans. If you got an all-star game with 24 people, maybe 5 or 6 or however would be international, and the rest would be Americans. But if you restrict it to USA against the world, I guess it only means only 12 USA players. And I don't think the Players Association is going to like that. Although the counter argument would be, yeah, well, look what you've done to the All-Star game. This is because your stupid players don't want to play.
Right.
So shut up. That's what I would say. But I don't know what's going to happen.
Bob Ryan had his Wheaties this morning. We're going to talk about Rick Carlisle coming up next. Prizepicks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prizepicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prizepicks. This year's basketball playoffs, wow. So far, unbelievable. We're going to be crowning a first-time champ, first time in 50 years. Don't miss your last chance to cash in on history with Prizepicks. Pick more or less of player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and more for your shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash today. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prizepicks is the best way to win real money when you're watching sports. It's as simple. You just pick more or less. For example, I don't know if there's going to be a category now for game-winning shots, but like Haliburton, more or less at 25 points. SGA, more or less at 10 assists. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game. Last night at halftime, I watched Rick Carlisle go into the locker room. And I will have to say, I'm rooting for Indiana because of Carlisle.
Yeah.
Because of his humane connection, the fact that he was here with Boston, he coached with Larry Bird. I'm just rooting for the dude right now. And he was not happy when he went at halftime. I mean, he had a look on his face. I don't know what he said. I don't know what he did in the second half. It's not as dramatic as Doc Rivers with the Lakers and the Celtics comeback out there in L.A. But, like he said at the podium, he said, just keep chipping away. Just keep chipping away. I believe that in comebacks like that, obviously Haliburton's the guy he won it. Coaching has a lot to do with it.
Oh, I think so. I think Rick has become a borderline Hall of Fame coach. If he wins this championship, I think he's going to punch a ticket eventually. He's coached successfully at Detroit, at Dallas, et cetera. He's proven himself. I'm so proprietary toward him too. I mean, we both were around when he came here as a very mature rookie because he had the old-fashioned experience that no longer is the pathway to the NBA, which is 4 years of high school, 1 year of prep school, go to college, play 2 years, transfer, sit out a year by the old rules, and then have 2 years. So that he was a 24-year-old rookie going on 25 when we got him. And we used to kid about how our rookie is older than the starting quarterback of the Patriots. It was Drew Bledsoe at the time. Okay. Anyway, self-taught piano player, intellectually oriented guy, studious student of the game. Not a great player, had a little bit of a career. I still come back. One great contribution I'll always remember, he had a 10-point game on a Sunday afternoon in Los Angeles during that 85-86 season. It was a nice win. Anyway, it was predictable he'd get on the coaching track. He coached under Larry. Larry hired him in Indiana. He was a member of the last Indiana team to go to the finals in 2000 as assistant coach under Larry, who basically named him his defensive coordinator. He was known for his defense. He was known for methodical play in Detroit. He has totally reinvented himself. He has pulled a Pat Riley. Pat Riley went the other way. He went from Showtime to Thug Ball. Rick has gone from orthodox defense wins championships, blah, 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 to a reincarnation of the Showtime Lakers. We have not seen a team score a basket after you've scored a basket with the frequency that they have done in many, many years. I don't remember any last night. See, OKC gets back. Obviously the Knicks did not get back on defense the way they should have. Anyway, he's got a fast break, up-tempo oriented team. It suits his personnel. He's made every conceivable kind of adaptation. He's a smart guy. And I'll repeat something I told you about not too long ago. Here's the kind of guy he is as a human being. And one reason why I like him so much. When he was coaching the Pistons, I got a phone call one night, and it was from Rick Carlisle. And he was calling to lobby for certain of his players for all postseason awards. And he was doing that with known voting members that he knew personally. That's not normal. That's not normal at all in any sport. That's a good human being. That's a guy who truly does care about his players. And that's who Rick Carlisle is. So he's entirely and eminently rootable, no question. I got to have one before we. All right, yeah, good. Rick Carlisle. Yes, so that's why.
No, go ahead. What's the story?
But I'm not rooting against OKC. I'm rooting for Indiana. And if OKC prevails, I'm going to be fine personally as a fan of basketball and a human being. Either way, but I certainly want Rick Carlisle to win.
Right. And yeah, there's a lot of Massachusetts, a lot of Boston connections, as we know, with these two teams. But we're both fans of Carlisle. So I don't think
I got one more for you. I got a great email from my friend Bruce Bosley up at the University of Vermont and he points out this is a D Row series because Rick Carlisle went to Worcester Academy where D Row coached.
Yep.
And Mark Denyo coached at UConn while D Row was the assistant coach. Or right after assistant coach. So he's got UConn. This is a D Row. The late one of the most interesting and wonderful guys I ever dealt with in all sports was D Row. I'll tell you that. And he's up there in that big, retired coach's home in the sky, but a terrific guy. And it's a D Row. Thank you, Bruce. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Friend of the Coos, and also he was the coach before Calhoun, right?
Yeah, and he. Bob Cousy, this is when I heard about D-Row. 1964, I'm a freshman at BC. I'm learning about, and you could go to practice. Practice were all open. Everyone. Cousy never had a closed practice at BC. And that I know of. My friends and I went routinely to practice. Anyway, the offense that Cousy installed, because remember, Cousy came right from the pros and directly to BC after we retired he had to come up with an offense. He had to come up with. There wasn't going to be the Celtics offense, He had to come up with an offense against the zone, which he never had to worry about in the NBA.
Right.
Who did he borrow? He went to D Row at Worcester Academy. He took D Row's stack, called a stack. He took D Row's stack off and installed it, and that's how I heard about D Row. So Bob Cousy looked up to D Row. Tells you about all you need to know at the beginning about D Row.
That's great stuff, Bob. Great story. What Who else on the Pacer team do we want to talk about?
Well, one guy is Myles Turner. He sneaked up on me this year. He's been around 10 years. I didn't realize.
I remember him and know him, but like 10 years has flown.
You see his all around. He's a shot blocker, a high level shot blocker. He can make threes. He spreads the floor. He touches the appropriate 2025 basis for a big man more than I ever realized. You just doesn't.
Well, I also think
doesn't enter in.
If I remember correctly, Myles Turner came out. Was he a number 1 pick or at least a top 5 pick? But these guys, when they're highly drafted, everyone expects them to be a franchise player. And he's not a franchise player.
No.
But I'll let you continue. He brings a lot of things to the table.
Well, they got it. That's their team. And that even includes Haliburton. The people I want to get to him before
Yeah.
But wait a minute. But that describes Nesmith, who's turned into a very useful all-around player. By the way, I was disappointed. I'm asking too much of Mike Breen, or I don't know if they made a point of it in the Indiana announcing crew last night. But that rebound that Nesmith got after the SGA miss that set up the Haliburton final basket was a great, extraordinary man's man rebound in traffic by a 6'4" guy. He devoured that ball. He snatched that ball. It was a great rebound. It deserved commendation. I mean, I'd like to think that if I were doing a broadcast, I would have gone, "What a rebound by Smith!" Okay, over to Bubba. Anyway, I want to go on record as commending Aaron Nesmith for a clutch, professional, dedicated guy's rebound. It was great. Okay. Nesmith, who we had as a first-round pick in the 2020 draft, the same year we picked Pritchard at 26, right. He was number 14. It didn't work out here, and I rooted for him because he was the best shooter in the draft out of Vanderbilt. We knew that, or I knew that, but people knew that. But it just didn't materialize here the way it should have, and he was let go. And I'm happy for his success. He's turning out, he's maximizing his ability now. He's maximizing his opportunity, okay, as a professional with this team. He fits in, he gives them what they need, what they can use. I mean, he's wonderful. He's an adjunct, a good adjunct player. Siakam turned out to be, an all-star level player, no question. But you know who I love on that team? The TJ O'Connell.
Oh, yeah.
TJ O'Connell is the guy that I hoped Pritchard could be. Pritchard is turning out to be TJ O'Connell, but even with an extra layer, a high level degree of three-point marksmanship. O'Connell has it a little bit, but nothing like Pritchard. But I love the similarity of the way they move the ball and play the ball. It can sneakily get into the basket with either hand, or in each case get a sneaky rebound. They are very much two peas in a pod kind of players, and I love watching O'Connell play. So, but it's I could go on, but it's a very likable team, and I'm happy for the way they're playing.
Turner was selected 11th overall in 2015 by the Patriots. Okay. So I exaggerated his draft selection, but I think whenever you're a first-round pick, there's a lot of pressure on you to become like.
Well, that's a lottery pick, and now we elevated that into a separate category. And yes, you're right. Things are expected from a lottery pick. That's if you're in it, that's true.
Okay, we'll get back to Bob in just a minute. For those listening to the show, we ask you that you subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. For those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Celtics content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. Okay, let's get back to Bob.
Right. Okay, let's get to Haliburton for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious. We know that he entered the playoffs with the tag of a poll that said he was, quote, voted by the league's players as the most overrated player in the league, unquote. All right. And obviously it's ridiculous to think about that now and look at the way he's been playing. So I looked it up. Okay, here's what it was. It was The Athletic. And they've done this before. And it was an anonymous poll of league players who would choose to participate. Well, there's 400 players in the league, roughly. and just 90 players voted. Okay. He got 13 votes. That's 14.4%. Okay. And there's a supposition. I'm just throwing it out there. I cannot endorse it. I am presenting it as a theory that exists, that it's possible that the 13 votes were the entirety of the Bucks team who were angry with him because he mocked Lillard last year. Okay, after mocked Lillard. That's the supposition. So I think we can toss this most overrated thing quite out the third story window, don't you? And not worry about it. That the idea what the validity of it, rather dubious, to say the least. And anyway, it's in Congress now, looking at the way he's played, as he's making history for us almost nightly, So there you go. Isn't he likable too? His interviews, this guy. I mean, look out. When he's done, move over a chair for somebody and the TNT or EBS, CBS.
Oh, I mean, he's terrific. His dad has been a character.
Oh yeah.
We know that. But he's a gentleman. He's great. He's very likable.
And he's from one of my favorite named towns in America, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Gotta love Oshkosh.
Oshkosh,
and Iowa State. And he was the 12th pick overall. And as you pointed out earlier, traded in the middle of his second year, Sacramento, for one of my current favorite players, Domantas Sabonis, which is a fair trade of talent, but he's certainly reaping the benefits. He's been quite, he led the league in assists last year. I forgot, in 2020, 23-24. He led the league. Kind of escaped my notice.
Sure. Well, I think, look, he's been hurt. He got a bad rap in the Olympics. He didn't play during the Olympics. Then he was hurt in the playoffs. So, I think that has all led to his image problem. As far as, Bob, to wrap it up, what do you think from the OKC perspective?
Well, they're well coached too, and they're going to. One thing that was pointed out, their assist basket ratio was bad. There was too much ISO for them. They should move the ball better. One guy that didn't get involved at all at 6 points was Holmgren, and Holmgren averaged 18 points a game in the last series. They can't have that again. SGA was SGA. He had his 30. But was that enough? No. Also, he's tinkering with the lineup. You notice Hartenstein brought him off the bench last night.
Right.
And in the fourth quarter, there was a stretch, and it was pointed out very well on the air, of 5 guards out there at one point. He's getting mad professor-like. He's reaching and channeling his inner Don Nelson. I don't know so I don't know. He's got to get it stabilized there, folks. Mark, come on, Mark. But they're going to be. I know the fans were. Can you imagine the fans shocked walking out of that building?
Oh my God!
Can you imagine? I mean, I love what we call only lead games, and where I writing last night, there's no question what my lead would have been. Their only lead was the final score. That would have been sentence new graph. That would have been me. Okay, to me, that's what jumps out. I love those games are so rare naturally, but to have it at this level of competition after that night that we watch, if you watch that game from start to finish, and there you go, their only lead of the game was the final score with 10.3 seconds to go. So they gotta rethink about did it work? It was working for a while. His schemes. Is he going to double down? Is he going to back up? Is he going to bring Hartenstein back in the lineup? I don't know. I'm curious. We'll find out.
Don't overthink it. Go with what got you there. That's what I say. You've been listening to the Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay podcast, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. The show is brought to you by Prizepicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today and use code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. Prizepicks, run your game. Bob, we'll talk to you next week.
Great.